Yep. Good evening, everyone. So last session we discussed about some basics of JavaScript variables. We learned about JavaScript variables and we are discussing about JavaScript data types. So in JavaScript variables and in variables, we discussed about three options: var, let, and const. In the data types, we have two types: primitive types and non-primitive types. What is difference? You know, what is difference between primitive and non-primitive type is actually primitive types. Primitive types are immutable types. Primitive types are immutable. Immutable means so they cannot change. They cannot change. They cannot change the structure. That means they have a fixed structure. Structure cannot be changed. That is immutable. So what are the primitive types we have? Generally, JavaScript primitive types, we have a number, we have a string, we have a boolean, we have a null, and we have undefined, and there is a symbol type which is some new in advanced symbol type. I will explain that because for that you need to learn non-primitive also. So in the JavaScript data types, we have a number, string, boolean, null, and undefined. Numbers already we know. So number type means signed, unsigned, floating, double, decimal, all these comes under number. Strings are explained. Strings are single quotes, double quotes, and backtick. Yesterday we learned one new backtick. Backtick is used for string with expression. So how expression can be embedded? Expression can be embedded by using dollar, right? So string type, boolean type, true or false. This all you will learn in JavaScript only, basic and all. So generally boolean is true, false, and null is null, undefined is undefined. Null means value is not supplied dynamically. So value is not supplied during the compile time, then it is returned as undefined. These are primitive types. What is a symbol type? I will tell you, we will discuss, but for that we need to know non-primitive types. Non-primitive types are mutable types. So non-primitive types are mutable. So mutable means we can change. That means they can change the structure. They can change the structure. According to the situation, according to the memory available, they can change the structure. For example, if anybody asked you how you will prove this point. For example, suppose we are declaring some number. I am declaring some number. So let's take an example. So here, suppose we are declaring a number. Let's take our project, React web app. Everyone started practicing. If there are any issues, let me know at the end of the session. Any problems are there in setup, install, and all. So now here, see, suppose I defined var x equal to 10. That means x is what type? Number type. X is number type. And important, if I ask how much value I can store as number in X. How much value I can store as number in X. Is there any limit? Yes, there is limit. You cannot say that any number. There is limit. What is the limit of the number? Actually, there is limit. You cannot say I can store any. That is why they are called immutable. That means they have a fixed range. The range cannot change. Range cannot change. For example, you see here, I will just show you the concept here. Suppose you see, I'm printing document.write. I'm just printing here to show you. Actually, so minimum number is, so number dot min safe integer, and maximum is actually number dot max safe integer. Actually, minimum and maximum is this. Minimum and maximum range is this. This is the range of number. That means if anyone asks like why number is immutable, I can store any number. No, you cannot store any number. There is a fixed range. That means a number must be within this range. Minus 900712 plus 9007 and all. This is the range. If anybody asks, for example, tell me this point. If anybody asks like, what is the range of a string? What is the range of a string? In a string, how much value I can store? Is there any fixed range for string? How much value I can store? Is there any fixed range for string? Anybody knows? So actually, the string also is having a range. That means, for example, tell me one thing. Suppose you are using a PC. How much capacity of RAM you are using? Suppose RAM capacity. Suppose 4 GB RAM, am I right? RAM is temporary memory, na? Am I right? Whatever values are there, they are stored temporarily in RAM, right? That means now can you store 20 GB string in 4 GB RAM? GB string can you store in 4 GB RAM? So there is a limit for string also. There is a limit for string, right? That means you cannot say there is no limit. How there cannot be no limit? Your memory is limited. If your memory is limited, there cannot be like no limited, unlimited. It is not like that. Actually, ECMA have, as per ECMA standards, string can be up to 2 GB maximum. Maximum 2 GB length. More than that, it cannot take. Even for example, if you see, suppose you are using Notepad. In Notepad, you are typing some content. You may think that you can type any lengthy content. No, there is a limit for Notepad. If that limit crossed, now Notepad will alert you that there is no more space. So that is the reason you might have observed sometimes you try to open a document in Notepad, then the document says that Notepad is not enough for this. Try using MS Word or WordPad. Right? Because the concept is limited memory. So they have a fixed range for values, fixed range for all this. All primitive types have such fixed range. And can we change that range? No. Once the range is allocated, you cannot change the range. That is why they are called as immutable. Remember, Mutable is not about changing value. It is about changing structure. Value changing. Many times at learning level, people have a wrong idea. They think that immutable is value cannot be changed. Right? Immutable is not about value. It is about structure. Structure can change or not. Immutable is not about value. It is about the structure. So you should know that point, right? Non-primitive types are mutable. They can change the structure. They can change the structure according to memory available. According to the memory available. According to the memory available, they can change the structure. That is the concept of primitive and non-primitive. And what are non-primitive types? In JavaScript, we have array, we have object, and we have map, and we have sets also. Map and set. These comes under the non-primitive types: arrays, object, map, and set. Now, yesterday I given some point about arrays. Few basic things I given about array. What is it? Array is used to reduce overhead. These you will learn in general JavaScript. I am just briefing here. And arrays will reduce, so they will reduce complexity. So, and the JavaScript array can store various types of values. They can store various types of values. And JavaScript array size can change dynamically. Size can change dynamically. They can reduce overhead. They can reduce complexity. They can store various types of values, and their size can be changed dynamic. These are all the points about array in JavaScript, right? Array size can be changed dynamically. Array can store various types of values. These are all different definitions in other languages. You are learning C++, Java, C like languages. Their array is similar type. But in JavaScript, array can be different type. In JavaScript, array can be different type. In other languages, array size cannot be changed dynamically. In JavaScript, array size can be changed dynamically. And very important, you can store any type of value in array. You can store any type of value in array. It can be a number, it can be a string, means you can say primitive or non-primitive. Already yesterday I given some examples. One more new concept I told you, if you remembered. What is it? So array destructuring, am I right? Array destructuring. This concept I explained in the last session. Array destructuring is nothing but, so the values of array can be individually accessed and stored in different references. So we can access the values of an array individually and store in different references. Destructuring syntax I told you. Suppose var values is equal to array. In that array we have some one, we have like TV, we have like true, we have like cities like this, we have cities. This is like Delhi. Some we have like Hyderabad like this. And we haven't discussed about object. Otherwise, you can have an object or anything you can have here. Initially, suppose this is an array. Yesterday I showed you we can have a function also. Anything you can define in an array. Now, how do we destructure this? By using var id name stock some cities. These are the references. Into that we have to apply values. That is destructuring. That means the first value will be stored in the reference of ID. Second value in the reference of name. Third value in the reference of stock. And fourth value in the reference of cities. These are general JavaScript arrays. And in JavaScript, you will learn about array methods. Array methods are used for manipulating array. To manipulate array, we have some important array methods. You must be very, very strong in working with arrays, because every real world data in front-end technologies will be in the form of an array and an object. You must be very strong in working with arrays and objects. Very, very strong in working with arrays and objects. So you will detailedly learn about arrays in your JavaScript. So you need to be very perfect. If you have any doubts, once go through all the concept, right? And based on that, if you have any doubts, let me know. Okay, because here I am not discussing about array that you will learn in general JavaScript. Here we are going only those things we will discuss. So array methods, so many are there. Actually, array methods, I will classify for your simple verification. Actually, array methods, suppose if you want to read, if I want to read value from an array, for that we have to read value from an array, we have some array methods. Array methods we are having, like one important is toString. Another one is join. Another one is a slice. ToString, join, slice. These are used for reading values from an array. We can also use for. We have for in, we have for off. These are called iterators for reading the values. There is a map method also for reading the values. To read the values from an array, these are the options available. We can use toString, we can use join, we can use slice, we can use for in, we can use for off, and we can use map. For example, actually you will learn all these in JavaScript, but one regularly used in React, I will tell you. That means all these we will use in React depending on situation, but in React user interface, generally we use these like this. For example, see here, this is a HTML page. In that I am giving var. So here I am declaring array. Some array is suppose categories is an array. In that we have electronics. In this we have footwear. In that we have fashion. Now I want to present these categories as list items, unordered list items, or I want to present these as buttons, or I want to present these as links, right? Then generally what we do is we use categories dot map. Categories dot map is an iterator. This iterator will read, it uses a callback function. That means we have to write a function. This function will read every category from this collection. We will collect that category. That means it will read the first category and it will store it here. Now this category, I want to print as a link. Then what I will do here, just I will use document.write. I am writing here. I will just put a anchor. In this anchor, so I will just keep here. Here we need to put a binding expression. This is a string. In that I am using a binding expression. In that we are using category. And after every anchor, I will put a break. just a line break I am adding after every anchor. And temporarily for every anchor, I have href is equal to hash. Now, this is a simple technique of map. And that technique of map will display like this. That means it will read every value from array. It will create an link and it will present that. This mechanism of presentation of array is very popular and very common in daily React examples. In everyday React, you will use this method called map in presentations. So that is the reason you need to be very strong in understanding this. However, this you will learn in general JavaScript, but in React, it is one of the key point for presentation of data. That is the reason you have to be very perfect in understanding this concept. So actually in React, we don't use for, in, for, of like operators and statements, because all the logic we do in the UI. In that UI level, we prefer using iterators. We don't even use loops also, like for I equal to 0 or while, do while, such loops we don't use. We always prefer iterators. Iterators are used for handling these kind of scenarios. Actually, this is one simple point here. So I hope you understood. We are using a map method. By using the map method, we are reading every category and we are printing the category as a link. Your wish, as a button, as a link, as a list item, you can present in any way. This is one example I will give here. So these are the points you need to understand. This, if I give script example, you put in HTML. If I give normal example, you put in JS file and you compile by using Node. Am I right? Because depending on the situation, some examples I have to show in UI, some examples I have to show in console, right? That is the reason, don't get confused. If I give script, that means this must be kept in HTML. So if I give a normal logic, that you keep in a JS file. And how to run JS file we discussed. Node, by using Node compiler, you can run that, okay? Now this is for reading. Similarly, I hope you learned how we can add elements into array. Adding, how you can add items into array. For that we have to use push. For that you have to use unshift. Another you have to use splice. These are for adding items into array. So push will add the item as last item, and unshift will add the item as first item, and splice will add the item at any index, at any specific index. At which position you want, you can add. For that we have to use push, unshift, and splice. Suppose here, let me give one example also so that you can understand. Into these categories, I want to add kids category after electronics. After electronics, if I want to add kids category dynamically, then we will put categories dot splice. Because if I use push and I say kids, then you can refresh and see it is going to add kids as last item, right? If I use here if I am using like instead of push, I am using unshift, then it is going to add as first item. At any specific position you want, then we have to use splice. Splice at which index you want, at 1, comma, after that, at that index already there is some value. Do you want to delete it? No. Then 0. That means don't delete anything. And without deleting, add this kids. 1, then it will delete one value from that position and it will put this value. If I say 2, it will delete 2 values and put this value. So splice requires where to add, how many to delete, and what to add. You can add multiple categories also, kids, some women, like this. And you can see those are added after electronics. You can add any number of items. So this is the concept of adding items into array. This is example. How do we remove items from array? Remove. To remove items from array, we need to use the options like pop. We need to use the option like shift. You need to again use splice. Splice. Pop will item and splice will remove specific item. Specific item. Suppose I am not adding here. Currently we have only electronics, footwear and fashion. I want to remove footwear. If I want to remove footwear, then categories dot splice, splice from 1, how many? 1. From 1 index, remove 1. Then it is going to remove that and display. Right, it is going to remove that footwear. From 1 index, you can remove 2. It is going to remove both. You can define how many to remove. You can specify that. This is another option. This is removing elements from array. So reading array, adding elements into array, removing the items from array. Another important is sorting. You will have options like sort. We will have options like reverse. These are the basic methods, sort and reverse. Sort will display in ascending order. Reverse is not descending order. Reverse is in reverse order of how they are arranged. Then if you want in descending order, first sort, then it will display in ascending. After that, these are all basic array related options. Another one, we have searching also. Searching. For searching, we have find and filter. These two are important for searching. Find, filter. Find will return one matching value. Filter will return all matching values. That means if you want to return the first matching, data is normal. Later data can be complex. If data is complex, then it is very helpful. Later you will see with complex data. Let me put basic here. Basic is nothing but I will do here one option. Yeah, let's say I'm using var some sales and it is an array. Some sales is defined like this. Now different sales are configured here. And in this, what I want is, I want to print all the sales which are above 50,000. I need to get all the sales which are above 50,000. In that case, we use sales dot find. Sales dot find. Find uses a callback function. You have to write a function. In this function, it reads every value, and after reading, it will return the value if it is greater than 50,000. That is how we write the condition. That means it will collect the first value. It will verify, is it greater than 50,000? If it is greater than 50,000, it will return that value and it will stop. Because find is going to return only the first occurrence value. After that, it will stop. It will not continue. Actually, 10,000 is not matching, so it will not read it. Second one also it will ignore. Third one is matching. then it will return that third one and stop. It will not go to the fourth, even if it is matching, because it stops at that particular position. So what we need to do, so here after finding we will print it. To print how, again I will use a map. I'm using a map. I'm using a callback function. Here I am reading every item and I am printing item document dot write. What is the item? I will print like a heading. So better use, because you need to bind, then use backtick. And what to print here? We have to print an item. This is actually we have to put in a separate variable and use it, right? Here we will put a separate variable and use it, because the return value is a number, right? So what I will do is we will put var result is equal to this. Let me print just the result so that you can see easily. Document dot write what result. This result is going to print only one value, which is matching. If you want to return all values, just instead of find, you have to use what? Filter. Filter is going to return all values that are matching the condition. So to search for values in an array, we have to use find and filter. These are basic things. These are general basic things you need to understand. Actually, these all you will learn in JavaScript, but I given a fast overview, because a front-end developer must be very, very strong in dealing with arrays and objects very well, because in real time entire data comes in the form of arrays and objects. You need to able to deal with that. Okay, this is array. Just I given some key points you need to understand about array type. In non-primitive types, another important is, in non-primitive type we have an object. In the non-primitive types we have an object. What is the key purpose of object? Is nothing but it is used to keep all related data and logic together. Object is used to keep all related data and logic together. So the concept of object is to encapsulate and keep all the related data and logic together. For example, here generally, suppose you see, suppose here I said var name TV is equal to some Samsung TV. It is a string. Var mobile is equal to some LG mobile, something like this mobile. And here var price is equal to some price. Now if anyone ask, so does this price belong to whom? No one. It doesn't belong to either TV or mobile. It is independent. There is no relation. So this price doesn't belong to mobile or doesn't belong to TV. They are all three independent. Now how to keep all related together? To keep all related together, we need an object. So how you define object? Just we need to keep, so var, so suppose TV is equal to object defines in a block. Object defined in a block, and in this block it will contain key and value. And key is always string type only. Key is always string type. Even you don't write a string, it is string. Only string type keys are allowed. And here the key is name, and its value is defined with a colon. It's defined with a colon and value. You have to assign value. Value can be primitive, non-primitive, anything. That means suppose it is a string, double quote, it is Samsung TV, comma, after that comma, then second key is price, and its price is some price. Another key, Another key is some cities. So it is an array. It can have Delhi, it can have Hyderabad, like this you can define. Third one is next one. Suppose rating. Rating is again object. This object contains rate. Rate is suppose 4.2 and count. Count is some 5,600. That means how much rating, how many people have given that rating. This is an object. Now all the data is related to TV, right? The price, the cities, the rating, all these related to only one. This is keeping object. And very important, actually history and all you will learn in JavaScript, because remember many times people have a different idea about object. Generally people think that object is a concept or a part of OOP language, object oriented programming, right? Many times people have only this idea. They think that object belongs to class, and they think that object means object oriented programming related object. No, actually the concept of object is there before OOP. So object concept was introduced in early 1960s by Alan Kay. He introduced the concept called object. After that in 1967, so Johan Ole and Christian Nygaard, these two people introduced a concept called object oriented programming. By utilizing that object, they made a reusable programming and they named it as object oriented programming. So object is not a part of OOP. Object is not a part of OOP, right? Object is there before OOP is there. So technically these two people introduced the first OOP language, name is Simula. Simula is the first object oriented programming language. After that C++, Java, .NET and all. C++ is not first object oriented programming. So Simula is the first object oriented programming. After Simula, Smalltalk, all these belongs to that family. Actually concept of object is not related to object oriented programming. It is independent. It is independent. So object actually purpose is to keep all related data at one place. At one place. And remember, if there is only data, if there is only data, that means only data, then this is called as JSON. If there is only data, then this format of data is called as JSON, JavaScript object notation. The data is maintained in a format called JSON. If anybody asks what is JSON, JSON is a format of data. Can you tell any another format of data? Another format of data is XML. Earlier we used to use XML format data, but now we are using JSON formatted data. JSON is a format of data. That means suppose you have database like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, so many, MongoDB. In that data is present. How that data is converted and sent to you in the front end? The data is sent to us, converted into the format of either XML or JSON. There are only two major formats of data, that is XML, another one JSON. JSON. So data these days everybody uses JSON only. JSON. For example, you see here, this is object. So that, remember, I told you that object keeps all logic also together. But currently JSON means only data, not logic. JSON means only data. That means JSON refers to data only, not logic. If there is logic, then it is not called as JSON. If there is logic, it is not called as JSON. For example, see here, logic also can be there. How logic can be there? Suppose I'm adding here quantity. Quantity is nothing but suppose 2, that is quantity. And I want here total. Total have to calculate quantity into price. That means how much quantity into price and return that result. Then total is not a value, it is a function. Total is a function, and this function will return quantity into price. And to access the members of an object inside object, we have to use this keyword, this dot quantity into this dot price. That is how we do. Now it is not JSON. Now it is not JSON. Because if there is a functionality, then it is not referred as JSON. JSON is only for data. JSON is only for data. We will do one thing here. See, in a SRC folder, I am adding in, suppose I will add a new folder called data. Okay, this is data is a new folder. In this folder, we will add a new file. That new file name is product.json. That means the file extension is JSON. Then it will perfectly validate JSON. Anything is other than JSON, it will not allow. Because you give an extension JSON, it have the ability to validate JSON. So I'm writing an object. In that object, I given 1 and I defined TV. It is not allowing. Why? It is not allowing. Why? Reason I told you, the key must be what type? String type, compulsory. If in this code, if I given this name as only name, it is valid. It will take. So, but it is treated as a string only. It is treated as a string only. So here, while writing, you don't give as string, it's okay. But in JSON, it is compulsory because it validates now. Now I will give name. Okay, what is the value of name? TV. I will give price. What is the value of price? Price something. And I will give quantity. What is the value of quantity is 2. I will give total. What is total? Total is a function. What this function have to do? It returns some value. You will see that it is not allowing. Because JSON expects only value, no function. But can an object have function? Yes. An object can have both data as well as function. But it is considered as JSON only when there is data. Any kind of data. If functionality is also there, then it is not JSON. But JavaScript objects can have both data as well as functionality. For data, we will call JSON. Data and functionality, it is an object. It will not allow now. So, but you see here, I am writing like this, it is okay. Now, how to print the details? To print the details, you can access object related details inside object by using this. By using this, you can access. You cannot access outside by using this. Outside, we have to access by using object name. That means I need to print all the TV details now. Then how to print? We will use console.log. I will print, I will define here like this. What is it? First name. How to access the name? To access the name, TV dot name. That is how we access. Inside the object, the properties are accessed by using this keyword. Outside the object, they are accessed by using object name. In the next line, I will say price. So this is TV dot price. In the next line, I will give suppose what is it? Stock. So cities. I'll say cities. Cities equal to, I will just use TV dot what? Cities dot toString. ToString will convert and separate with commas and display them. And after that, we are using another /n. Yeah. And here we will print. So the quantity, what is their quantity, right? Rating is there. Rating, I will print the rating. Rating is equal to what? So rating is TV dot rating. It is an object. In that we have a property called rate. Rate. And how many people rated it? I will put here dollar. So TV dot rating dot what count. It is going to display. In the next line, I will define quantity. Quantity is equal to TV dot what quantity. In the next line, I will print total. Total is equal to TV dot total is a function. We have to call like a function. Now this is all the details to print. This is all the details to print. Now let's run this and see. I will open that. We are creating an object. I will open in a command prompt. So you can use terminal. I am using node index.js. It is going to print all details. The name, the price, the cities, the rating, the quantity, and the total. We are going to handle all the details and display the details here. This is this JSON? This is not JSON. JSON means it will contain only data, no logic. If logic is involved in it, then it is not JSON. It is not JSON, right? So data will be in this format. That is how we generally access. This is an object. So JSON refers only data, and object refers to both data and logic. Data and logic. It refers to both data and logic. This is one example I will give here, index.js. This is the simple example for that. Right? How we can configure an object. So data and JSON. Now another important is actually object can contain any type of data, primitive, non-primitive, I told you. You can even have array of objects. That is how the real-time data is maintained. We have array of objects. That is how the real-time data is maintained. Array of objects means nothing but, for example, see. So here, I will give a simple example here. Suppose we are having some database. So database like Oracle, MySQL or something database. Now in this database, usually database softwares will maintain data in a table or collection. They have a data in the table or collections actually. Suppose we have some table. So this is a database, and in that we have some data stored in the form of tables. Suppose we have a table called, so name, we have like price. Now this is a table which is having fields like name and price. In that we have TV and its price is some price, some shoe, some price is some price, and we have some mobile like this, we have some price. Now the question is how this data comes to the front-end user. Generally, it is a lengthy approach actually. Generally, how the data comes, usually what happens is in the backend, we use APIs. We use API in the backend. For this, you use general technologies like JSP, PHP, ASP, Node.js and everything, Express, all these are used. By using these, we create the APIs, and what this API will do, so API will provide this data to you. In which format the data will come now? The data is provided in a JSON format. It will be now how many records? 3 records. 3 records means it's an array. In that every record is an object. Understood? And every object contains name. It is what? TV. Another one is price. And the price is what? Some 45,000. That is how the data will be there. This is first. Now, comma. After that, second record. Second record is what? Name. This is what? Some shoe. And what is the next value? Price. And that is the price. Some 6,700. This is how the real world data comes. That means you can directly get an object. You can get an array of objects. What is the responsibility of front-end developer? Is consume the data and present the data. Provide the interface from where he can interact with the data. That is important. So suppose you are watching Netflix. You are watching Netflix movie details like movie names, movie actor names, movie related photos and all. The backend data for that is JSON. Suppose you are watching a shopping site, product photos, product price, product features, all that is coming from JSON. For example, I will show you simple. Suppose, for example, we have some APIs. Suppose fake store API. And here there is products. You see their data will be like this. This is the data provided by somebody. And this data is in the form of array. Now you see this is an array of what? Objects. And every object contains properties and values. This is how data comes. So if you cannot understand this data, then you are not a front-end developer. Because even when you go to React interviews, practical tests, they will give you some screenshots and they will say that you have to design these screens. In those screens, you will see some dashboards, you will see some grids, tables with filtering, searching, sorting, inserting, updating, deleting like operations. You will be okay. You will say that, okay, I will design this screen, but what about data? Then the interviewing company will tell you that we will send an email to you. In that email, we will send a link. In that link, all our data is present. That is from our API. Use that data and design these screens and send us. That means you don't need to create database because they don't even expect that from you, right? You don't need to create database. You don't need to write any server side logic of APIs to generate APIs. You just need to learn how to consume the data and present the data. And only one thing you should know, data comes in the format of JSON. First, you need to understand what data is coming. Then you can present it. So for example, not only this, for example, you see we have API. This is NASA website. This is NASA website, NASA API website. NASA API's website. This is, for example, suppose you want to build a website to educate the people about space, right? You want to build a website to educate people about space. Now, where you will get the photos of space, videos of space? You Google, then almost all are fake photos only. Why? Because who went to space to take photos and send you? Only the people who are in the space research and all, they are sending us the photos. That means now NASA have open APIs. We don't have our ISRO or others like that. NASA have open APIs. Open APIs are nothing but they are providing some data to public. They are providing some data to public to educate public about space. Then general people can understand this data? No, they cannot understand this data. Let's see. You see browse APIs. When we see browse APIs here, so many APIs are there. Suppose Mars rover photos. I click on Mars rover photos. You click Mars rover photos. You see Mars rover photos, they give some link here. You click on that link. You can see they give the data in the form of JSON. This is NASA people data. And we will do one thing. I will copy this image source, copy that source, and I will paste it here. I will open in a separate page, enter. You can see that photo comes here. This is the photo. Now what you are asked to do in interviews is they will give you such data and they will say that create all the photos related information in a slideshow manner. That means you need to create a slideshow. Slideshow where user can click next photo, previous photo. Then one by one, all the photos will come. Data comes from this file. Understood? That means you need to able to present and work with this kind of data. This is only the work you have to do as a React developer. What is the role of a React developer in real-time project? Consuming the data and presenting. That is the work. And consuming the data, you should know how to consume. Presenting the data, you should know how to present. Not just presenting the data. We can present the data. After presenting the data, we should give some manipulations on the data. Like you will provide all the photos. Beside, we need to provide filters like photos taken recently, photos taken on this date, photos taken by this rover, photos taken by this robot. That means a lot of filters are there. For example, you see when you open any Flipkart or any website, usually in Flipkart, suppose I am searching for mobiles, you will see some mobiles related data comes. You can see this is the data coming. Am I right? That means suppose, suppose some data is coming related to somebody. Let's take some data. Yeah. You can see this is all the data coming. Am I right? Now the question is from where these details are coming? From a JSON file. From a JSON file. So data is coming from a JSON file. They presented like this. They presented like this. That means they update the price, they update the photo in their database, automatically it will update it here. And is this enough? No, not enough. Left side you can see they created a lot of filters. Now in those filters, what we do, we select how much price range, we will select which brand, then it should able to filter that data and show us. This is all React developers job. This is the job of React developer, to design such interfaces. Design that interface. This is the only work you have to do as a React developer. And if you can do this type of work, so you are confident that you can crack any level interview and you can work in any environment. There is no issue. We will try to achieve this. We will try to achieve this kind of design, this kind of functionality. We will learn how to consume and work with this kind of data. So finally data comes in which form? JSON. That is why you need to be very strong in understanding the array of objects. Array of objects. That means actually data will be in this way. Let's do one thing. I am defining like this. What is it? Where products. Products. And for example, let's do one thing. I will give where products. It is an array, or simply we will go here. I showed you Fake Store API. Fake Store API is a website. In that products, they provide some data here. So some internal error, the APIs will take sometimes error, right? Now This data we need to present. The same type of data we can design here just to show you. Previously you saw it is taking some time because sometimes API servers will delay. You see, this is all the data. Now, what are the properties we are having? ID, name, price, and all. I will do one thing. I will copy this all data. Okay. And I will put the data here. I will put the data here. The complete data is here. So that is the data we presented here. If it is very lengthy, I will take only two details. This is one product. Observe, one product is ending here. And this is second product. Second product is ending here. We will take two products. Huh? Where is it is ending? Yeah. So this is the description of the second product. Okay. And the second product is ending here. Here it is ending. I will copy this. Huh? I will copy this. This is two products. I am defining that here. That means I am adding an array. In that array, those two products are there. These are the two products we kept inside array. One object, one product, another object, another product. That means now I want to read these products. I want to read these products and print. Already we discussed map and all these options. For example, roughly here I will define like this. What we will do, products dot what map. We will use a function. In this function, we will read every product, and we will print that product. Document dot write. I am keeping here a simple expression. A div I will create. We will create one div. Okay. In this div, what we will do? This is the backtick. In the div, what we are doing here, I will put a heading or I will put a paragraph. In the paragraph, I want to print the title of the product. That means product dot, there is a property called title. That will print the product title. After that, I am using an image. Image width is suppose 100 and image height is also some 100. I want this image source src. Src is coming from where? Src is coming from, what is that location? Product dot image. This is just a simple design. But actually, you see here when we run this generally, that means it is trying to present the data. This is index.js file I created, but images we can't display in console. We will put this logic in index.html. Okay. Index.html we are keeping because we are presenting images and all in command line. We cannot present them, right? We will use that in HTML page. You can see those images are here. We are accessing the data and we are presenting the data. But remember, their data is like this. Nobody understands. Means general people cannot understand this data. We need to present in a good way. And for that, we need this thing to happen. How you present that depends on your requirement. If you are adding styles, effects, and bootstrap, presentation is important. You design like a card style, you keep side by side. This is basically how you have to work with the data coming from any APIs. Actually, this is not directly API. I copied that API data and used it to make you understand array of objects. Array of objects. I will copy this here just simply. That is how we are presenting. I will copy and I will present that here. This is array of objects. Right? I took some data from that fake store and I am displaying the data here. You can visit this website, http://fakestoreapi.com/products. It will give all the products list. Like that, hundreds of sample APIs will be there. As developers, when you are learning a technology, instead of creating, because To work with data, you should have knowledge of database, server-side programming, APIs and all. Without that, how you will work with data? You can try some APIs freely provided to you. You can use the data coming from there and you can present. That's what you can do. This is one example actually. So this is array of objects. And as I already told you, you can manage the destructuring. Destructuring, anything can be done. You can destructure array, you can restructure objects also. But here one problem is there with the object. One problem is there with that object. Actually, to overcome that problem with the object, they introduced the concept of a symbol. For example, I will show you here. Suppose var product, and this is an object. So product have a name. This name is TV. Another one is having an ID. ID is some 3. Another one is having some price. Price is some price. Okay. And again, I am having an ID, and that's ID is 4. Now problem is there. What is the problem is uniqueness of keys. Uniqueness of keys. For example, now I am using document.write product ID is equal to, I want to print product.id. Then which one will come? That means you are trying to present that it is going to print the last one, not this one. Because you know, yesterday I showed you shadowing, na? The latest will be overwritten others, right? That is what shadowing. That means now this is the problem in handling unique type of data. That means you cannot have this kind of data. That means if already there is an ID, if there is an ID configured, there cannot be any another ID configured. But JavaScript is structureless. In that case, we have problems. Then what we do is, to handle this issue, we can use, suppose I defined an ID, it can be defined with a symbol. We can use a symbol. And the symbol ID, symbol reference will be ID. Symbol reference will be ID. You can configure a symbol. Into the symbol, you can pass the ID. Now this time, when you are trying to refer ID, so don't use this reference now. That means don't write like a string. Then what you should write, it should not be write like a string. It should be like this. That means you have to define. So in a square brace, what is that ID? ID is equal to whatever the value you are configuring into it. Now what happens is, if I define another ID, that means I defined another ID and I am configuring some value. Now through logic, we can easily verify whether this ID is already defined or not. We can use operators, is equal or not. That logic I will tell you how we can handle that. That means the concept of this is, that means now this will avoid using the same name references. Avoid using the same name references. Oh, what is the advantage of symbol? For example, here, I will copy this. I'm defining this in a JSON file. Here, I'm trying to print, what is it? Console.log. What we have to print? Product.id. You can see I am defining product.id. Let's compile and run this and see. So node index.js, you see it is returning undefined. How to print that I will tell you, right? We will define. That means, is there ID property recognized? ID property not recognized. I'm using product of ID. I'm defining like this. That means what is the ID specified? I'm running this now. It returns 4. It returns 4. That means it is returning this one. Now what we can do is, we can use a logic to verify is that ID is already taken or not. and we can avoid unique type of data to be overwritten. That means we can prevent overriding of data, and we can declare and configure unique type of references. But for that we need to handle operators. We need to check, is that symbol matching with another symbol or not? For that we have functions, symbol related some important functions are there, we have to learn. So to overcome these kind of issues, we have a new concept. That new concept is what? The symbol. Now detailedly we need to understand the concept of what is this symbol, right? How it can prevent these kind of issues, what are the limitations of that symbol and how it works and all that we'll see in tomorrow session, right? Tomorrow we can finish this symbol and map and sets, then we will finish all the data types, then we will go into operators, statements, functions, and OOP concepts. Those are some new things, only new things in that we will discuss, right? So another new concept you need to understand is here about symbols, that we'll see in tomorrow session. Okay, right? These all notes I will upload into classroom, huh? Right? And videos also I will update. Videos also I will update into Google Classroom, right? That tomorrow will continue.